pony knowledge by. Oh, better. I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, stable too. Your horse racing fantasy come true. But no, stable do.
Download the Stable Duel app and play today.
Okay, we're going to do our best to make this week as good as last week, but I don't know if we can, Barry, because last week we are coming off of one of our better weeks that we've had on these shows. I think you had at least 3 horses that were double-digit winners. Me and Matt had another couple. We also had one that was, I think, a $15 to place horse that had the lead and just got nailed. So it was a good week last week, but as you and I were just talking about before we started, the summer is winding down. You can feel it. So we have another few days to try to end with a bang.
Depends on where you live.
Yeah, that's true, right? Because where you and I are, sometimes it's always the summer.
It's hot. Yeah.
I was gonna say.
So, but yeah, you know, the sun changes and everything. So I guess we're ready for the fall. You know, Breeders' Cup coming up in a few months, so should be a good fall season for us.
So
Keeneland also
coming soon. We just had Kentucky Downs open, which has that short meet, but it's a lot of fun. And we now really get the Breeders' Cup feel, right? A lot of horses that have been running even in the last couple of weeks, their trainers have already said, we're just going to train them up to the Breeders' Cup, which is a bummer. We'd love to see them run once more, but we actually now can start getting a feel and getting a sense for who is going to be pointing to certain races. And this is a big weekend. This is Pacific Classic weekend and Jockey Club Gold Cup at Saratoga. So 2 big races, and we'll get a chance to see Flightline run on Saturday, who you're probably not going to be able to get rich when you watch him run, but he's been really impressive, really freaky good, and he'll try to stretch himself out to 1.25 miles. So we have a lot to talk about this weekend on Friday and Saturday. And remember, this is the no chalk zone. We're only going to be dishing out horses that are in the 5-1 range and above. We just want to help you make money. And shout out to our buddy Matt. He's normally with us, Matt DeSantis, but he's taking care of the pup today. So we wish him the best and hope everything is well. As a reminder to all of you who want to play along, today, the game schedule for Stable Duel. You can play at Delaware, Gulfstream, Penn National, Monmouth, or Del Mar, and we'll start with Del Mar in a minute and give you a couple plays for Friday. Then we'll also incorporate Saratoga into the stream. We know that everyone's playing Saratoga during the summer, so we'll give out a couple best bets for Saratoga, because that way, if you're playing along, maybe there are horses you can include in some of your exotics. And then we'll get to Saturday. I actually have one for Kentucky. We'll talk a little Del Mar and a little Saratoga. So if you want to play the Del Mar contest today that we're going to be talking about for Stable Duel, it's $40 to enter. And Barry, these games are super affordable. They're fun. They're great if you've already handicapped a card and you want to complement your plays, or maybe if, you know what, I don't have very much money to bet an entire card today. I'll put $40 in Stable Duel. I can play a lineup. Maybe I can play a few other things, but it's really fun to give you that action that you need all day. A lot of people play fantasy football with football season coming up, and this is very similar with the daily fantasy style.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it fits right in with what's going on with, you know, when football's coming up and stuff like that with the DFS thing. And this falls right in line with that. And it's you know, I'm always trying to find ways to maximize my profit. And if it's even playing in a Stable Duel environment where you can accentuate your best opinions and get paid for them as well. So you kind of hit him from all angles, and that's what I want to do on a daily basis, is try to maximize a profit on a certain race. And then even during the whole day, I mean, if you have a good day and you're playing good through the windows and you add Stable Duel on top of that, I mean, you're crushing it.
Especially with the way that we play and like our approach on this show and just overall, if you're someone who plays a little less chalkier, it's nice to be in an environment, like you said, like Stable Duel, where, okay, you had a 15-1 shot, run a great second or a really good third, or maybe that was the race where you knew we always are attacking the vulnerable favorites. It's like, I know this favorite isn't very good, but can we find the other big price and the horse that you like runs a really good second or third, you get rewarded at Stable Duel. And I actually retweeted with a direct link if anyone wants to sign up. It's totally free to sign up, and they have free contests all the time. Yesterday, we were doing a promotion where all that you had to do was sign up and just show me that you played into the free game, and we gave someone an extra glass, and they're also going to come on my show and have an interview. So Joe this week won the free bet at Louisiana on Monday. He put 20 to win on a horse. He turned that 20 into 112. And then 3 days later, he got picked in the Stable Duel contest. He won a free glass, and he's going to get to come on and talk on an interview on my show. So Joey Killen, not a bad week for him, Barry.
Nah, that's dope, man. He gets to come on with a celebrity like Gino B and tell his story and tell his truth.
Yeah, we'll talk
the whole
sports.
thing.
We'll talk sports. We'll talk racing. And with football season coming up right now, there's a lot of great stuff to be talking. So today, if you play those Del Mar games, there's one Del Mar contest. The winner gets $400. But if you finish 10th, you still get $80. So payouts for the top 10 will all double their money up at least. So starting at 400 all the way down to 80. And it only costs you $40 to enter that game. So let's start with Del Mar today, Barry, and then we'll head over to Saratoga, and then we'll go to Saturday. For Del Mar, you are looking at races 5 and 6. I'm looking at races 3 and 7. So I'll start in the third race at Del Mar on Friday. And this is in being around the O'Neill barn. This was like a Doug O'Neill phrase, and like a phrase that they would say all the time. Win the day. We're going to win the day. You know, like I can hear some of them saying it years
It's like
back.
one of those old corporate buzzwords.
Yes, exactly. And there would kind of be laughter around it, right? So it'd be like kind of like people were leading into it and joking, and there was like inside jokes to it, and it was win the day. So I love seeing this horse. Every time he comes up, I always smile a little bit because it makes me. Doug O'Neill is one of those guys where, man, you're around him for just a few minutes and you're like, you want to give him a hug and like, you feel like you're part of the team. He's got this really great energy to him. Win the Day comes off of a race on August the 5th where he was going 1 3/8 on the turf. He settled inside. It was about 4th or 5th, and he was about 3 lengths off early. And if you'll notice the running line, it was a little weird. So he's about 3 lengths off, and then the top 2 really stretch out and they open up. So he backs up a little bit, and then he is asked to move right up into contention, but he gets stopped. He has to back up. Then he's looking around for room again. He moves in between. Again, it's a little bit tight. He finishes 3rd in a race where one of his rivals in here, B Catcher, finishes 2nd. He absolutely could have outfinished that one. B Catcher, who draws the rail in here. So I'm looking at Win the Day. He's, a slightly better price than B Catcher because he just was behind B Catcher. His grass races are sneaky good. He has 3 of them. He has a 2nd, a 3rd, and another one where he has legitimate trouble. And when he goes longer like this, he's able to sit a closer trip. So I think it's a really good spot for him. You could tell they were always high on him because right after he broke his maiden, they threw him into a couple stakes races, and it was just a little bit too much for him in the Santa Anita Derby behind Taiba and Messier. And then they got a little class relief. They went over to Lone Star, and he ran a little better there. He finished 4th. He was only beaten a couple lengths. And you've seen a little improvement from him as the races have gotten just a little softer. He's able to run a little bit better. And now he's on the grass here. Win the Day. He's 5-1 on the morning line. That's fair. Like if you're looking at a win wager, I would want him over 7-2. But I like his chances in this race with the trip that he could sit. Win the Day for me. The 3 in race number 3. Win it, baby. Win that day. So let's move on over to race number 5, my friend, at Del Mar on this Friday card. Tell us who you're looking at in the 5th.
Yeah, this is an interesting race. These claimers, these kind of mid to higher level claimers at Del Mar have been really, really competitive races. This one is no exception. It's a $40,000 claimer down to 35 for a purse of 53,000, going 6.5 on the main track there at Del Mar. I ended up on the 1 Keep Me in the Moment This was a really tough race, and I don't think you can take a short price. Um, but I do think, and this may be a little bit out of the box, but I think Keep Me in the Moment might be like a lone speed type here. I know the outside horse in O'Neill's Legacy has shown speed on the synthetic up at Golden Gate, but I'm not 100% sure that's going to translate down at Del Mar. And Keep Me in the Moment, who has run well on the synthetic as well, came back on August 20th and ran a bang up race at Del Mar at a
From
slightly
the
lower number
inside
from
again
the
too,
rail.
right? Yeah.
Or yeah, he was
The
on the
two hole,
inside.
same type of trip he's gonna get. He's
Exactly,
gonna get.
and
Yeah.
that's what I want to see. I want to see this horse out of the gate in front, and I don't think anybody can catch him. The two Loma Vista is somewhat of a pretty deep closer. Same thing with you, Your Honor, who has been kind of inconsistent. He's hard to trust at 3-1, even though he's kind of dropping in here. Still not a horse I'd like to put on top at a short price. Empire Pass. I just think this horse is faster than Empire Pass, who's 4-1 on the line. So you get that combined with everything else, 6-1 on the line for Keep Me in the Moment,
Yeah.
and it's go time.
This has been the meet where a lot of Southern California fans that maybe didn't know the Jonathan Wong name are really starting to see
Oh,
it.
they're starting to know him now.
Yeah, a couple of those Northern California trainers that they may not have seen as much are having really nice meets. This is a fast horse, and this
Yeah,
horse
Andy
has,
Mathis is having a great meet too.
yeah. So Wong, Keep Me in the Moment. Second start off the short little break, speed from the inside. That's the play for the sniper. And at 6-1, when you're building your stable dual lineup, it's all about the salary cap. So at 6-1, that would only cost you $5,000, and that's the average that you'd need all day long. So you're looking for horses just like this all throughout the card. Keep Me in the Moment for the sniper. Believe you've got the traditional old school double right next door, right, my friend?
Oh yeah, that's how we do it. We love
Always
playing
got
the
to
doubles.
double them up. Let's talk race number 6. We had, and it's always one of your favorites, a turf sprint.
Oh yeah, that's my wheelhouse. I love these races, these sprints on the turf. You know, from anywhere from 5 to 7 furlongs. It's always a great race to watch, and usually you get pretty good betting interest because you get horses that are cutting back from a mile, some stretching out, things like that. But here we have a $25,000 claimer going 5 furlongs on the turf at Del Mar. I ended up on number 7, Biarritz. This play I kind of like quite a bit here. This is first off the claim for Sadler, who does pretty good with these types. Who's actually dropping down. This horse ran pretty good last year, and over at Fairgrounds, he actually won a race similar to this.
Yeah.
And a few others going back earlier this year in 2022. Had a short break, was claimed off of Mike Maker last time at Del Mar, and I think this is a savvy claim because this horse can run, likes the short, 5 furlong distance on the turf, and his numbers comparatively are right there with everybody else's. I mean, you see a horse on his inside, Texas Wedge, who runs in bigger and better races, but has been had trouble kind of lately. He's kind of off form, so I don't know what that horse is going to do on the drop at
Yeah.
a short price. But this horse is competitive at a pretty decent price of 5-1. We're gonna
This
have
is
to
the
take a
play in
shot
this
here.
race. Like, if you're
Yeah,
looking to bet this race, it's this horse at this price that fits the most. No doubt. Like, because they have the running style where they can sit off, they can stay in striking range throughout. And I don't mind at Del Mar, and in this particular claim where you claim for 40 and you're in for 25, I think is a really good aggressive move by a trainer like Sadler, because if you think about it, you claim a horse for 40, the purse of this race is 44, you come back and you win half of that and 25, and you're still making money. And if you don't get claimed, well, now you can step right back up, or you can run again in another spot where it's logical. So this is what you do to where you win, you get claimed, or you run well and you get claimed, you still make your
You
money.
still get it. Right.
You know, if you're not, then you're able to come back in again at the same spot where you're like very, very competitive. This is a good move, and this is it's a really good spot for Beatriz. I like this
Yeah,
one too.
the key for me was having the race over the track already
Yep.
and coming back. I mean, this is a really savvy claim from what it looks like, and it'll definitely pay off dividends if they win today. But I think this horse has a really good shot. I mean, those races at Gulfstream were really, really competitive and pretty fast in comparison to these. So I'm looking for a real big effort from Biarritz today.
Biarritz, that's in race number 6. We'll finish up Del Mar for Friday with my second play, and that's going to be right next door. It's going to be in race number 7. I'm going to look towards the outside with the number 10, Little H-Man, and we can pull up the race for the Little H-Man last time out. So he came from Northern California, the guy you were just talking about, Andy Mathis, who's having a really nice meet. Little H-Man was a winner at Pleasanton and then came down on August the 12th to Del Mar. And I thought ran deceivingly well. He was actually in a race behind a horse I gave out last time named Nice Guy Clay a few weeks back.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So the Little H-Man is the 6 in here. And so he has an okay start, but then right after the start, he gets crossed over on, and you'll see the 6 horse have to back up a little bit, and now he's towards the back of the pack, and he keeps backing up a little bit, and now he's last. So it was just some traffic in between.
Yeah, just a bad shuffle, basically.
Yeah,
a little bit of bad luck.
like about a length and a half or 2 lengths of positioning. Instead of being there, he's probably where the 8 is, you know, and the race is a little different for him. But
Right. If he's where the 8 is, he wins this race.
yep, but he's not able to. He's still in some traffic here, and he's traveling pretty well. He was never more than about 5 lengths off or so. And right now, he's trying to pick, okay, you know what? Let's just go wide. I think this was the right call. You don't want to try to go in between there where there's a lot of congestion. So instead, he has to go wide, which is all the way around, about 5 wide. But he really starts to get into a nice late stride here. I thought this was a good effort. This was at 6 furlongs. Now he'll stretch out to 6.5 and get a little bit more distance, which should work out perfectly for this guy here, the Little H-Man. I mean, he's very consistent. And when you dive through his races overall and you find, you know, some of the poor efforts, they're races where you can make legitimate excuses for his efforts those days. Like you look at one of the race back in August, it was right before a long layoff and it was routing. And then he came off of the layoff against First Level Allowance Company. That was probably a little bit too tough. He was 15-1 that day, and it was his first start since August of last year. I love when you go through horses like that, when some of the only times they don't really run well, you can make excuses for them. And you can say, well, yeah, I know why they didn't run that great that day. It was right before a long layoff or right after a long layoff. Other than that, his races fit, and a lot of them are against open company. And when you saw him move back in with Calbreds last time out, he was a good second. And the horse that won that day, Sunrise Journey, if you were like blinkered on the horse that I was showing you, he went gate to wire. There was no passing. The only horse who passed horses that day was the Little H-Man. So
yeah, there's plenty of speed too, and this horse is going to get a great trip.
Yeah, at 6.5 with all that speed down towards the inside, you see Nice Guy Clay, who we mentioned last time, Pyeongchang, who's going to be forwardly placed in here. You've got Northvale Road, who's not quite as quick, but Smiling as Val next door is very quick. Brace for Impact, really quick. Thorn House, Curry, all of these horses have speed. All of them could be flashing speed in here. So we're looking for the off-the-pace rally of the Little H-Man. That's on Friday at Del Mar. Remember, you can play in a $40 game today. If you're watching the stream right now, I actually I quote tweeted our stream with a direct link, so you can actually sign right up. If you've never signed up, then get playing Stable Duel today. But let's go back in time a little bit, my friend. We already talked about Del Mar, which is a little later in the day. Let's talk about some Saratoga Friday. couple plays for Saratoga for Friday. Saratoga meet is winding down. Believe you said you are looking at Saratoga races 8 and 9. I'm gonna go a little earlier in the card today. I'll go to races 4. I'll start with race 4 and then I'll go to the ninth and we can both talk about that one. So let's discuss Saratoga today, and let's discuss race number 4. Those of you who are following along, we're using the daily racing form past performances. I'm always a big fan of Formulator, and what's nice, like you just saw when we pull up the replay, we can go from one click to watch a replay, then we can pull up the charts, we can pull up the pedigree information, we can pull up trainer and jockey information and statistics, all with one click. Boom, 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 boom. Really, really simple. I sent this one to you fellas a couple days ago when we were doing some handicapping. As I said, no way, no way, no chalk. Oh my goodness, no chalk. And this is the no chalk zone. What? So the 3 no chalk is a legitimate filly with a legit shot to win this race. A couple things I like about her. I mean, look at her overall body of work. She has 5 races. She's never been out of the exacta. 3 of her races have been at Finger Lakes, and I think that's why she might get overlooked a little bit, Barry, because some of her recent races have been at Finger Lakes. But she's beat Open Company. She's won at Belmont and at Aqueduct. So when she's raced at the bigger circuit, she's been fine. And in both of those races, because she was a little bit overlooked, she was 11 and 12 to 1. Both times she won at New York, or at Aqueduct and at Belmont. Then when she goes to Finger Lake, she's shorter price because they've seen that she's been running at the big tracks. In her last start, I thought it was a really impressive race. It was a type of race you like to see from a filly like her because she's just way better than the group that she was facing.
Yeah, I just won it pretty easy.
But she had to overcome a little something, which I like to see. So she's the one in here. And she draws the rail, and she has a little bit of a slow start from the rail. So she's not able to get to the lead, and she has to sit behind horses. Really hasn't done that all too often in her career. Her last few races, she's been pretty much right on the lead. So she's behind horses here. She has to kind of wait for room throughout, and you can tell that she's live. You can tell she's traveling well. And this is also going to be the first time that she gets Lasix in this race. And with the fact that she's beat Open Company and has won at a mile and now moves back to New York bred company in 7 furlongs, I think she'll be plenty fit. We know she can sit off a little bit if she has to. She just waits behind nicely. She shows us that she has no problem tipping around to the outside after waiting for some room, and then she's able to draw off impressively. So this is nice because this is like learning, continue to learn. I don't need to be on the lead. She showed now in multiple races where she can sit behind, angle around, and pass horses. And I just like that Finger Lakes form being form that might throw people off. They'll look and say, some of the speed figures aren't quite as competitive. Well, that's what happens at smaller tracks. They're just not quite as good. The speed figures just aren't as big.
Yeah, they aren't. But I think this horse would be best served trying to go wider wire here. Gets the rider that can do it in Kendrick Carmouche.
Because it's not
there's really not much speed in this race, and she seems like the one to get to the front end first. So if that happens, it could be good night.
Yep, no chalk. It's the no chalk zone, baby. We had to give no chalk out to. Lots of positives about this one, especially that 8-1 morning line on no chalk. So I'm going to go and join you in race number 9, but I believe you have the 8th race before that, right? The Turf Sprint.
Yes, indeed.
Tell us about the lucky coin.
Well, I'm going to go to the well again, and I'm going to take number 4, Dancing Buck. I was really impressed with his last start. He's stepping up in company here. He's going into the 150K lucky coin, which is a step up, but I don't think there's any monsters in here that you can't get around to where this horse doesn't have a shot to win. His last 2 in particular have been very, very good. I think he's just the real hot horse right now. I appreciate that he won last time, showed a little bit of affinity for the Saratoga turf. He can be up close. He could be a little bit behind. He's very tactical in that regard. Getting Manny Franco today, I'm gathering he's probably going to be a lot closer up behind Critical Way and get first run on everybody, and that could spell curtains for everybody else. Hopefully, the if it comes off the turf, then there's a huge problem. It'll probably scratch, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Doesn't look like it.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I think this horse is just the right horse at the right time kind of thing.
His
Where
versatility is so nice.
yeah, he can be up on the lead. You saw that back in November at Aqueduct on the turf. He sits off it like last time where he was pretty far back. I mean, the past performances don't really do
Yeah.
that race justice
You're
because
right.
he was a little bit farther back. At
Then
least it seemed that
then
way.
where it picked up the calls, like where it picked
Right.
him up and placing. You're right.
Yeah, and he just
Especially
gobbled
earlier
up
in the
ground and
race.
ran by everybody. It was a really good performance, and I think he has another one in him.
I agree. I like Dancing Buck in here. That's a good find from Barry. Barry gave this horse out to us last time. He was in just about 8-1 winner on July the 29th. We go back to Dancing Buck once again, and we move to race number 9. It's the grade 2 Prioress. We have 3-year-old fillies. They'll be sprinting 6 furlongs in here. We both have a play in here, my friend. I'm going to look to the outside with Union Lake as my play. I'm just looking at Union Lake's overall form. The debut was last year, was in the slop. Obviously, some physical issue that day, as we didn't see Union Lake again until June of this year. Then she shows back up as a 3-year-old, and she wins nicely. And then she comes back in her second start, and I love the way that she's able to sit off with the outside draw that she has. I think that's the kind of trip that she'll be able to work out. Velasquez will sort of look around, see where everybody else is, and try to just place himself about a length off the leaders. Just hope that they don't get hooked all that wide. The race that she won last time out has already come back live. The third place finisher named Repealing came back and won last week. I guess already a little more than last week, Repealing with an 87 Beyer speed figure and won a first level allowance race. So that horse is in nice form. She's actually won 2 of her last 3. I just think it's a good spot for Union Lake to sit nicely from the outside, and I'll give her an opportunity to be in the mix throughout. Who are you looking at in here, my friend?
I ended up on number 4, Mischievous Diane.
Yep.
That last race that this horse ran, I thought he was really up against it. There was nobody really closing or anything that day. This horse kind of started off a little flat-footed. I mean, I know the comment in the forum says bump start, and it's hard to see, but it wasn't really like a huge bump or anything. She just wasn't that quick out of the gate, to be honest with you. And it ended up being her demise because the horse that won is in this race, Smash Ticket, kind of went wire to wire at her own pace and at her own leisure. They really weren't getting to her. And I think we can kind of put a line through that race. I mean, I don't know. It was strange. Just say that the way that the 4 run and kind of atypical. So I'm guessing that this horse is going to bounce back today, have a little more speed, but I don't want this horse on the lead. If Manny puts her on the lead, she's cooked because Hot Peppers has a ton of speed. There's Angitude, who has a ton of speed. Even half is enough. And obviously the horse that won last time, Smash Ticket. So if this horse can sit right off of them, she's going to be in the perfect spot and be able to finish. I mean, I liked her race down at Belmont on June 10th. She kind of ran away from everybody at a higher level allowance race. So this is very comparable to that race. And I think she can bounce back at a big price at 12-1 on the morning line.
Sup, Steve? This reminds me of he says sup, dude, Steve Gilfeather. When I read this, I keep thinking of the one episode of Friends when Joey's trying to audition to play like a young kid, and he's dressed up in all like the baggy clothes and like he's got his hat backwards and everything, and he walks in and he's like, "What's up, dudes? What's up, dudes? What's up? Sup?" And they're looking at him like, "What the hell are you doing?" And it's like that meme of Steve Buscemi, Hey, young school kids, how are we doing? How you doing today, young kid? So,
Young fellows,
how
how's
young
it
fellows?
hanging?
Yeah. So, Stevie, he also said that Snipers repping the best team in New York. Yeah, they had a really fun series over the week with the Dodgers, were sort of like a playoff preview. Really fun matchups between those two. Nemo caught this ball. He
Oh
robbed a
man,
home
I
run.
saw
That was
that. Yeah.
awesome in that DeGrom game. So fun stuff. Thanks for checking in, Steve. Hey, if any of you are ever out there and you're following along and you want to share a horse with us that you have and you want to leave a comment, if you do, I'll pull it up on the stream and we can even pull the horse up and take a look at them a little bit. So, Steve, thanks for hanging out with us, and let's shift our focus on over to Saturday. Now, I just want to mention one particular horse on Saturday that I wanted to play at Kentucky Downs. And Kentucky Downs, Barry, is a track I absolutely love. It's difficult to handicap, but it is a ton of fun because it's all
Yeah, you
turf.
get law professor at 9-1.
Law professor, our boy, the law professor lock of the week, 9-1 yesterday. Every field that you get is like 10 or above. The maidens run for $150,000, the maiden races. And they have it, since it's still sort of a newer meet, a lot of their big races aren't graded yet. So they have races that are like $500,000 non-graded races that are deeper and better than grade twos because they're going to go run where the money is. It doesn't matter necessarily if it's a grade one or grade two. People will go try to get the big money. So Kentucky Downs and Stable Duel always team up, and there are always Kentucky Downs contests for Stable Duel. On Saturday, you have a $25 game and a 3 limit entry. I wanted to talk about one horse that's going to be running in the feature race for Saturday. So let's pull up Kentucky Downs on our daily racing form, and then we'll get to Saturday Saratoga, and we'll get to Saturday Del Mar. But at Kentucky, I'm looking at a horse that people may know the name and have probably been familiar with, Cavalry Charge, who had done a lot of work at fairgrounds in some of the like mile-ish turf races. And I always thought that like a mile and a 16th, maybe a mile and an eighth was about as far as he wanted to go. Look at some of the races that he comes out of and who he's been facing. 3 of his last 5 times he was behind Santin. I mean, that's just major class relief in a spot like this. One of the other races, he's behind Ivar at Indy. And when Ivar is on his best game, I mean, he's legit.
Tough.
Like, this is a grade 1 winner who was 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Like, he was 3rd and 4th in his 2 runnings of the Breeders' Cup Mile. His only issue is that he misses a lot of time. You know, he's had some physical issues, but he's really honest. Some Like It Hot Brown, we just saw come back and win really impressively by 6. He's super capable when he gets the right type of trip. Graded stakes winner. I think this is just a good spot for him from a class standpoint, like getting a little bit of class relief and cutting back. He's going to cut back now to a mile after having just gone a mile and an eighth, mile and a 16th, mile and a half, mile and an eighth. I think this will give him a little bit more punch, and he gets a little class relief at the same time. So at 6-1, I think that's a very fair price. If he is in that 5-1 range, it's worthy of me making a win wager on him. There's no Santins in here, and he should be able to get a nice trip, save some ground from the inside. I mean, it's a fun field where you can go in a lot of different directions. Pixelate right next door, but he hasn't been winning a whole lot lately. Give me Cavalry Charge, who's coming out of a lot tougher races. And anytime I can give you guys some love for Santin, your boy, I will do so. That was someone that you sniffed out way early in the year, and he's had a really nice year.
Yeah, man, he's tough. I mean, he's proven to be legitimate, and this horse Cavalry Charge has a win at Kentucky Downs, which also helps. You know, these races are wide open, so I couldn't knock anybody for taking any prices in races like this.
So Kentucky, get involved in the Saturday Kentucky Downs contest for Stable Duel. Let's talk Saturday. Let's talk Saratoga. And then we'll finish up with some more stable dual plays for Del Mar. So for Saratoga, Barry, Saturday, you are looking at races 5 and 13. You start us off with the 5th. I'm going to move to the 7th, and then we'll talk about the 9th and the 13th. Tell us who we're looking at in race number 5 as I pull these up.
All right, so race 5 is another 5.5 furlong turf sprint.
That's bread and butter for you.
It is, and
Yep.
this is even better because it's a start allowance race for 50,000. And these races, you get horses coming from all different directions, as we've seen in the past. This one this one struck me as a kind of tough race. So I do have actually 2 horses in here that I do like, one more than the other. And it's only because of the price. So the 2 horses I landed on were, one, Drink the Wind, and the other was number 6, Letty. And I'm gonna lean towards Letty, who's 15-1 morning line. This is first off the claim for Linda Rice, who does well with these types. And getting this horse on the turf is probably the best thing. I think this horse is going to be suited for the turf. Man, this is a tough race.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a horse in Drink the Wind, who I also gave you, who is coming out of a maiden, just absolutely destroyed a field of 6 by 22 lengths. And that's not easy to do, no matter what
at
level
7
you're at.
furlongs. You know what I mean? Well, it's not like a mile and an eighth either. Yeah.
Right. And obviously this horse showed speed in the past, and I think that's probably going to be his best weapon, is to just shoot out from the rail and go as far as he can, as fast as he can. And honestly, for a turf sprint like this, there really isn't much speed.
No.
I mean, you go through all these horses, and
a lot of
it
pressers.
looks like, a lot of pressers, but nobody that wants to be on the lead other than Drink the Wind. And if that horse shakes loose, it might be curtains for everybody else, because there's really not much in here.
Take advantage of the rail, just send hard and go. Drink the Wind, the 1 and the 6 Letty possibilities for
Yeah,
Barry.
Letty kind of got bumped around in the beginning of that last race, and then just kind of dominated that affair. But I appreciated the number that he got coming off the bench from 2-year-old to 3-year-old year, and he kind of made the jump. So I'm thinking there's another jump up in him, right, where he's going to improve again. And I think this is the right time. And at 15-1, I might play just a cold exacta.
Yeah.
6-1, 1-6, depending on who I think might have a better chance tomorrow. But those are the only 2 horses I see here.
That's the Roger Maris exacta, right? 61.
61.
There we go. Judge is on the way there. That's
Nobody likes Yankees. Just saying.
I was gonna say, yeah. And the energy and the vibe right now over there is not good.
Oh man, they're already looking towards the Knicks season.
I know. Well, and after they had such a great start, now it's like, they have a big series coming up with Tampa. They were like 6 games ahead of Tampa, and they have 2 series left with them. If Tampa takes wins a series, and all of a sudden they're only 3 or 4 games up with 3 weeks left, they're going to start getting really anxious. I did the baseball show yesterday with Jonathan Papelbon, who does some stuff for Better Than Vegas. So he, of course, said, man, the only thing me and the Red Sox people have left is to just hope the Yankees collapse. So he said the whole Red Sox nation is just pouring it on the Yankees. We want to see them collapse. So, and you know what? Misery loves company. Even if they can't win over there, the Red Sox, they want to see the Yanks take a dive. So,
oh man, that's bitter.
They
never wish each other well.
Never. Although I think it's great that with one of the trades the last few years with the Dodgers, they traded one of their prospects to the Red Sox named Jeter Downs. So They have a player named Jeter Downs, who all the Red Sox fans have to root for Jeter now and cheer for Jeter, which is just so funny after all those years. So we're continuing along through the Saratoga Saturday card. I'm going to go to race number 7, Barry. I'm going to go to the number 7. You know what that means? Seventh heaven, when I see your happy faces smiling back at me. Seventh heaven, I know there's no greater feeling than the love of the family. Where can you go when the world don't treat you right? Love me some Seventh Heaven. That was the jam, little Jessica Biel. Although I was watching some the other day, I always thought it was so funny. You got the pastor's daughter who gets pregnant, so that whole dynamic is
Yeah,
always
that's
weird,
just
right?
wild.
It's
That's
like
wild.
he's at church giving the lectures and giving the sermons, and they're like, "Isn't your daughter pregnant?" Always. But we used to walk. I went to Catholic grade school,
Me too.
and when I was in like 7th and 8th grade, we had a religion teacher who was getting a little bit older, and they only had a few more years left. So like is any time that they could just sort of kick back in their chair, they would. So every Tuesday, the day after Seventh Heaven, we would watch
This episode.
of Seventh Heaven for full hours. And I was like, oh, nice. Everybody would kick back and just relax a little bit. So love me some Seventh Heaven. Like me hoist the gold in this race, Barry. Now, if you put a line through his last race where he had a little bit of a tough start and he was behind Gunite, what's wrong with the rest of his form when you dive into it? Like, what's wrong with the 2-back race where he was right behind Gunite? And then maybe he just, not only did he have a little bit of a bad start, he probably bounced a little bit in that race too, because that was a big effort from him, finishing just a half length behind Gunite. And it may took a little bit out of him coming back, in less than a month on July the 31st. Now he's had over a month after that. He's going to make the third start of his form cycle. And if you could dive into his career earlier, he's actually run into some really nice horses. Jack Christopher, he lost to, Cyberknife, and then Gunite. I mean, he's been in tough company. And so I'm not quite worried that maybe his figures are a little bit lesser than some of the others, because from a class perspective, I've actually seen him perform pretty well against classy horses. If you forgot, Gunite just came back last week and ran a bang-up race behind Jack Christopher in the Jerkins. Gunite earned 102 Beyer speed figure in doing so. Look at his recent form. Stakes win, grade 2 win, grade 1 placing, where he actually ran the best race of his career and was right there with Jack Christopher. So I think at 15-1, if you're playing pick fours and any sort of exotics, this is a little bit of a sneaky horse to throw in there. Eliminate that last race. If he can get back to the max field, that is not far away from what it would take to compete in here. He's got a little versatility to him also. He doesn't need to be as far back because he had a slow start. He's not going to be on the lead, but he can be sitting like mid-pack or sitting 4th or 5th. I'm going to take a swing here with Hoist the Gold and a trainer who knows how to get a big, big price home. Hoist the Gold is 15-1 for
Getting Lasix back is a key too. I think this horse looks like he runs better with Lasix on. I mean, he had that nice win at the fairgrounds, and then backed it up the next time out. So yeah, this is a nice little sneaky play at 15-1. You probably get all of that price too.
I've got one to look at in the 9th, and then you're going to go to the 13th, I believe, right? So
yes, sir.
Let's go to the 9th race, and we'll be looking in here at a 1.16 turf race. I'm looking at this race, and I'm seeing Clear Vision is pretty quick. Analyze It is pretty quick. You've got a lot of speed in here. The 6 Munition is pretty quick. You've got Mad Monies, who's pretty quick. You've got Ocean Atlantique, who's not quite as fast, but has been on the lead a couple times. You've got Eyes on Target, who's a presser, who wants to be forwardly placed. I see a pretty good amount of speed in here, and I think it should set up well for a deep closer like the number 4, Sanctuary City. Let's look at the races that he's coming out of recently, too. So he's dropping in class here. He's getting a little bit of class relief. Recently, he's been in stakes races, and then he was behind Soldier Rising. What has Soldier Rising done recently? Well, he came back last week. He was 3rd in the Sword Dancer. He ran a great race. That was his career best race that day. He earned 103 Beyer speed figure. So he loses to a horse named Soldier Rising, who's in really nice form right now, who comes out of that race to finish third against Grade 1 company behind Gufo and Mira Mission. Oh, Mira Mission. Poor Mira Mission. That one caught me. But Sanctuary City is just a little too far out of it early on in this race, and that's honestly about what it is. Sanctuary City is the number 3 in here, so towards the back of the pack early, about 9th in this field of 10, and you just see the field, settle, the field take shape, and Sanctuary City's the 3, well towards, the rear, kind of getting backed up here. And then we can like skip to a little later in the race, and we see Sanctuary City, the 3 horse on the outside, running well in a race where there's just not a whole lot of movement. There wasn't a whole lot of passing going on. Here's the 3 late on the scene. That was a race against Better. So now you get a drop down in class, and you have a race where it looks like there's a lot more speed on paper. Coming off of a 4th place finish, all this horse has to do is just gradually improve at this level, not even improve based on speed figures and stuff. He has races that are good enough to win this already, no doubt about it. So one of the issues would be cold connections, and that will give you a good price because McCarthy's had a tough meet and Ferraro is also had a tough meet. So you'll probably get a little more value on them because of that. That is race number 4.
It's funny because I almost picked this horse too. I probably should have because I like this horse too. I think he has a huge shot.
Yeah, he does. And I think
Huge
if
chance.
he should be more like 7-2, 3-1, but because the connections are a little cold and because he's a deeper closer, maybe you'll get a little more value on him.
Yeah.
So Sanctuary City at Saratoga on Saturday. As we move to the 13th, we'll just sort of walk right next door to the Flower Bowl. You think anyone can beat Warlike Goddess in here?
No.
Yeah, I think the only way that you can is if the 3 can gun open
Just
up
get it too far.
in
Yeah.
the separation here. But the only problem with Virginia Joy is she doesn't even run that way. Like
Nope.
if you look at her fractions, she doesn't really run fast enough to create the separation. If she gets the lead in like 50, it'll probably keep Warlike Goddess in the race. Look at the races. Look at the race she won 2 starts back where they went almost 54 to a half mile. And so the thing with her is you have to string her out if you want to beat her. I think, if you keep her within like 3 lengths, her turn of foot so good that she'll just come like go by you. So I had a tough time trying to beat her there. In the jockey
that field isn't that great to be honest.
No, it's really not. It's not. Jockey Club, quick thought on this one. Anything from you?
I'm still firmly against Olympiad.
Me too, especially at 1.25 miles. I want to make him prove it to me going a little farther here.
Right. He seems to be a bit off of form, and I think that it's catching up to him.
Yeah.
So I don't expect a bad performance, but I can't take a horse like that at 2-1.
No.
Stretching out a distance that could be a little bit questionable for him.
Yep.
I thought First Captain actually looks pretty good here. I think horses.
Yeah, the 2 that I'm looking at are 6 and 8. Those are the 2.
Yeah, the dynamic one. Yeah.
That race, I like that. Those races, I just feel like these horses are on the upswing versus some of these others that we may, like you said, with Olympiad, he may have peaked a little earlier in the year, and we may not be seeing the best of him anymore. First Captain and Dynamic One feel like they're like gradually moving forward, and they run like Dynamic One's races have been pretty bang up races for about 4 or 5
Yeah,
years.
he's run pretty good for a while. I mean, if you go back, the only races that he didn't really run well were like top tier grade 1s.
The Derby and the Travers.
And beyond that, he's pretty much shown up every time.
And his races start to look a little better now too when you see Cody's Wish beat him in one of them, right? And it's like,
I was there that day.
Yeah,
that was Tampa Bay Derby day.
That's a
and
strong
Scalding
race.
Scalding is really good. Cody's Wish, you see what he's turned into. Once that horse got away, once Dynamic one got away from both of those horses and even beat Scalding
Mhm.
at Churchill going a mile and eighth. You know, he's right on that same plane with those horses.
He's just I think the comment is that Mike Beer has here in the DRF is right. Underrated colt. He just feels very underrated. You know,
Yes.
he's super honest, and if he is in that 7-2 ish range, that's a fair price in this race. I'm with you. I prefer the horses 6 and 8 with a little more upside here. Let's finish things up, my man. You've got one in the 13th at Saratoga to close us out, and then we'll head over to Del Mar and get a couple more over there.
Yeah, we got the bailout once again.
Bailout
Hopefully
Barry.
we can connect it again this week with number 9.
We're looking at
Eli Dancer. You know, there's a lot of speed in here. If you look, the 2 Bunty Windermere has a lot of speed. I think Chiara, the 1 is going to have to go. Even that horse's stablemate Feligny has some speed. I mean, obviously this horse kind of quits, but I think is going to be participating in the pace scenario. Rent Control has speed. So there's a lot going on, and I think Eli Dancer might end up just falling into a good trip. His last race, first time turf, he ran good, almost a pretty much a winning race, and just got nailed late. I think that really sets him up perfectly here for this try. You know, there's not much in here as far as anybody standing out. You know, they're all pretty competitive at the level. You'll see some horses dropping down slightly from maiden special weight into this maiden 40. But man, if this horse can kind of build on that last race, the first time turf, usually second time out, they're going to run a little bit better, and that could be enough for this horse to get to the winner's circle.
And I got to say, Eli Dancer, I've always loved me some Eli Manning, mainly because I just sort of liked his demeanor. And like from the very beginning, you know, Peyton went to Tennessee, but Eli went to Ole Miss where his dad went. Like Peyton wanted to go somewhere else and do his own thing. Eli didn't really worry about the pressure. He was like, I don't care. I'll go where dad went. I'll break dad's records. And then Eli came in like he's never someone you're going to talk about in the same conversation with being as talented as Peyton. But even when you hear them talk to each other and they do the brother stuff, I like that, you know, Eli is super confident. He's just a confident dude. Like he has a swagger and he's always kind of had it. That's why he was able to win in big games and make big throws when bro Peyton sometimes went the opposite way. Like he had a tough time in the big moments. So shout out to Eli, who I always loved.
You know, my daughter, you know, my daughter's 9. She says that Eli Manning has constant dumb face.
He does. I was going to say that smirk on his face. He looks like he's always thinking of the answer to like
hardest question ever.
An advanced chemistry question or something, right? Or it's like, but I will say he does the stuff that they do on the Manning brothers stuff is really, really funny. My blinds broke yesterday here. What ended up happening, so you can see my face. I look like I've got all the light coming in from the side. What happened when I was recording, Barry, I was recording. I had a long recording going on yesterday, and there was a fly that was buzzing around, and it was bothering the hell out of me when I was recording, and I kept hearing this thing, and I had a long one. It was like an hour, and it would stop. It would and so I saw it landed over on my blinds by the window, and I had this pillow, and I was like, I'm going to get this. And so I threw the pillow at the blinds like an idiot, and the fly, of course, moves, and it just shattered my blinds now. So I gotta go get brand new blinds. Like, smoke another one, Gino. Come on, man. Eli Dancer. We finish it up at Saratoga on Saturday. Let's go to Del Mar. It is Pacific Classic Day, Barry. I mean, from just a quick thought on the Pacific Classic, did you find any way you could take a shot against Flightline in there?
Sure.
Yeah. Who do you think? Like, is it? If you think Flightline gets beat, is it the 1.25 miles maybe trying to do that for the first time? Would that be the reason? Yeah.
That's my reasoning.
Yeah.
I mean, any one of those horses, to be honest, could get him. If he doesn't, if he doesn't particularly like the mile and a quarter distance, Country Grammar, who just turned into a whole different animal after going to the Middle East.
Yeah. And the second
And
start,
Royal Ship is the hot horse. So between those two, they're very formidable foes for this guy.
I guess it'll really come down to just, is anyone fast enough to put a little pressure on him in this race to make it tough for him in those final stages, to make that mile and a quarter really be the determining factor for him. If someone can work hard and just keep him enough company, that's
I think
how
Stiletto Boy has that potential. Whether
from the
they do
outside
that
try
or
to
not,
just shove, see if they can keep him company. You mentioned
exactly.
Royal Ship was really good. He was sitting right with Country Grammar, and he just blew right past Country Grammar. And this will be the second start back after Saudi and then Dubai for Country Grammar. So you figure with the race under his belt, should be a little bit better there. It's not the deepest or field of 10 or 12 in the Pacific Classic, but Flightline is right now whether or not you think he's the best, he's the most intriguing horse in America right now. With the fact that he's so lightly raced, he's so quick, and we haven't really ever seen him tested. So
No, not at all.
yeah,
He's been serving up cupcakes.
yeah. So
Uh,
he's going to be tough, but it's good to have him being a nice headliner in the Pacific Classic this weekend. So you and I, it looks like we both have race picks in some of the same sort of races. We're going to look at race number 7 first, which so what's positive, if you don't like the Pacific Classic and you're thinking, I think Flightline's going to jog, it's not a great betting race, don't worry. We have some other really nice betting races. The 7th, the 9th, and the 11th are 3 other graded stakes races, and they're good ones. They're competitive. They're contentious. You can find some prices in there. Tell us who you're looking at in the 7th.
in the 7th, I actually went with number 2, Tarantino, who has an interesting career so far because he was started off in the Baffert barn, went over to Rudy Brissett. Now he's over with Ed Mosier. And that whole time, really, he's been running well.
Yeah.
If you take out his little stint during last year's Triple Crown Trail, and even some of those races he ran pretty well. Like his Holy Bull was very good behind Greatest Honor, and his Fountain of Youth wasn't that bad either.
No.
His race on the synthetic was completely horrible. He lost by 70 lengths, so we know what that's about.
Yep.
He just doesn't want it. Then bounced back at Keeneland on the turf and ran pretty good. He's been steadily improving, and I think this is a good spot for him because this isn't like the greatest field of
it's
stakes
competitive.
participants. It's competitive, but they're not
like monsters.
Right. There's no monsters in here. You got a horse like Goliad who's stepping up out of $40,000 claimers, who has a legitimate chance. Cathkin Peak is a dead closer who I want no part of. Triple E is just nowhere. Like they're going back to the turf. It seems like that horse is they need something to try to get this horse back on track, and I don't have any confidence in him. Astronaut is another horse that likes to clunk up a little bit off form, but has a shot.
Yeah, I don't mind him throwing him in a pick 4 or a pick 5. He's coming off a long layoff, but he actually has like he won the Del Mar handicap last year. He might be a little better going longer, but I could see with Goliad in the race, they could be going quick because he sets quick fractions. Yep. So I think the real key to this race, I had Emily Gullickson from Optics EQ on my podcast yesterday for an interview to talk about some of these Del Mar races. And she was sort of warming me up to this horse who I think we both had one time, right? Air Force Red. I think we used this horse when he won an 8-1 and he went wire to wire. Now, the way that she was sort of playing the race out, and if it plays out this way, I could absolutely see it. She thinks Goliad is quick enough to just clear and that Air Force Red ends up sitting right behind him. and sitting second and just tries to get the jump on everybody else. And if that's the trip that he gets, that could be an interesting trip for him. Just getting the jump on some of the others. If he gets caught up in a pace battle with Goliad, that's where maybe it could get difficult for him.
Yeah, and that's where I was leaning as far as the pace scenario. I just think Air Force Red, his best races come when he's on the
Right on the
lead.
lead.
And
So,
Tarantino is what I want. I want that horse to follow Air Force Red.
mhm,
Just
tracking
get right
behind.
behind him. I mean, if you look at his past performances, he's up close enough to stalk these horses and get a good position from the inside. And that's the key here. If Goliad and I think Goliad has to go also.
Yeah.
His best
Oh, yeah.
races are going to
Goliad's
be
going. Gotta go. Gotta go.
right.
Like, they gotta just try to send hard and open up like they did. Like, their best race is not 21, sub 22, but they want to go like 23 going a mile or less, like early. That's how fast they want to go and just run most of this field off their feet. Yeah, this is
Yeah, it's a
10s.
really interesting race. It's a
It is.
rider's race, to be honest with you. There's going to be some strategy here
Mhm.
because they don't want Goliad to just run off.
But you don't want to really get caught up with him because if you do,
Correct.
you're going to be going too
You're gonna get
fast.
cooked
Yeah.
also.
So,
Yeah, man. I mean, this is a really tough race. I would never take a short price. I would never play Hong Kong Harry in this
no.
spot, no matter how good he looked.
Well, and to
I
be honest, Captain Peak was better than Hong Kong Harry in the same race. Captain
yes,
Peak had more trouble. Hong Kong Harry got the jump. They actually, they were the numbers 9 and 11, but they were drawn right next to each other because the 10 was scratched in the race, and the horses to the outside of them both broke in, and Hong Kong Harry and Captain Peak both pinballed each other. They got bumped around, but Hong Kong Harry recovered pretty nicely and was sitting in a good spot. Captain Peak was like way out of it and closed and almost outfinished Hong Kong Carry. So of those two, I prefer Captain Peak, but I prefer prices in here. Like I'd go to the 10 Astronaut. Barry likes Tarantino. I wouldn't have a problem throwing the 1 in on some of your pick 4s and pick 5s too, just to see if maybe they could get a nice trip from the inside. That is the Del Mar Mile, which goes as race number 7. So I'm going to go to the 9th. I'm going to mention 2 horses in here in the Del Mar Derby that I think you could use. Another race that's really fun on paper. You can make, I think, cases for a lot of horses in here. Biliknikov was very impressive winning the Oceanside last time out. You have McKinnon, who we know from last year. My only problem with McKinnon is I don't feel like he's really progressed a whole lot since last year. I feel like he's kind of running the same races that he was running towards the end of last year. So I'm looking for some others who maybe have a little more upside, I think, right now. Danny Warhol was really good when he won last time. But the 2 that I fancy the most in here, and I would be fine with using either one of them in Stable Duel, is the number 3, War at Sea. War at Sea has just gotten good lately. Look at his recent form. All of his races on the turf have been excellent. His last 4 races, 3 of them have been wins. 1 of them, he was beaten less than a length when finished 3rd. He has some versatility. He's been showing a little bit more positional speed. He had a slight issue that made him miss 1 work, if you'll see. He basically missed that, and that's what forced him to have a little bit of time off. But he doesn't have gaps really in the training. When you see July 9th to July the 24th, I think that was right there where he missed a work and he was not going to be able to run in what would have been the Oceanside. So War at Sea is just a little fresher, but I have no problem with him getting the distance, and I like his running style. The horse right next to him is also really intriguing to me because there's not that much speed in this race. If you look up and down, there's pressers, there's horses who want to sit, and then there's deeper closers. Now, Barsabas showed a little speed last time out with Biliknikov. I think Barsabas has some speed, but does he have the same kind of dirt speed that a horse like Slowdown Andy has? And what's nice with Slowdown Andy, he's an O'Neill trainee, so he'll also probably be forwardly placed to help get a little bit of pace for McKinnon. So at the very least, he'll keep things honest to try to help the stablemate McKinnon. And Slow Down Andy actually does have a little bit of reason to suspect some optimism on the turf. He was half to a horse named Team Merchants, who's a turf winner, another half named Norma's Love, who's a turf winner. So a couple of winning siblings on the turf. I thought a couple options in here, Barry, in the 9th race for horses that, could be nice in your stable dual lineups, could be really nice. Pick 4, pick 5 horses to use. Maybe the 2 Slow Down Andy could be on the lead, and maybe War at Sea can be tracking pretty close.
Yeah, I think that's a good perspective on this race. It's just funny to me that we both picked Mike Smith to win a couple races
I
on
know.
Saturday.
Yeah.
When's the last time that happened? I
know,
can't
and
remember the last time we won a couple on a day.
And he's having a nice meet right
Yeah,
now.
he's doing okay.
He's doing well. He's sitting at around 23% with the limited mounts that he has. We'll see if War at Sea or Slow Down Andy can get the job done here. And I think we're both going to go to race number 11 to close it out. Tell me who you're looking at in the 11th race, my friend.
Yeah, this is a tough race. Another one. A grade 2 that probably shouldn't be a grade 2, but is a very competitive field.
Right? Yeah. Less quality, but from competitiveness, it's awesome. It's a good betting race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I ended up on number 2, Gold Phoenix.
Yeah.
I just think this horse is going to get a way better trip than he got last time. He's stepping up a little bit. He hasn't run a bad race yet, to be honest. And he's getting Pratt back, which kind of makes me feel good about playing this horse, although it might affect his price. He's 6-1 morning line, probably come down a little bit, probably 4-1 ish.
So he runs into some traffic early in the race that we're watching. He's the number 6. He got bumped towards the start, and then you can see him. He's in some traffic there towards the back of the pack. He's about to run right up onto the heels of a rival where there's not a whole lot of room. So he's going to settle, and he's going to back out of that spot, and he just is going to be put in a position where he has like nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go.
Right now, he had an opportunity to maybe sort of kind of keep to the outside, but when he starts to move into contention later, like now he's back to saving ground again, which is the right move. But unfortunately, it keeps you pinned in. Like watch the 4 move to his outside. Now that's when Gold Phoenix is in trouble.
That's when it gets in trouble. Right.
Yep.
And if he can avoid that sort of situation, or at least be the one on the outer flow, come like the top of the stretch, he'll be fine here.
Because right now he's traveling
he just got
so
shuffled
well.
way too back. He was
traveling
too far back in this race
Mhm.
From the get-go, and I think that just cost him. He needs to be closer up than this.
He wants to
He
go.
just had way too much to do here. He had nowhere to go. He was blocked, and ended up running on well despite all of this nonsense. I mean, he kind of didn't get slowed down, but never got going until way late, and it was just way too late.
So he moves inside here, but as he tries to go down to the inside, that spot shuts down, and he's sort of waits, and he tries to alter course in between horses, and now he's rolling nicely, and he just misses second here because he was down on the inside. He was shifting around, and look at the gallop out on the 6, which is a really big gallop out down towards the inside here. He's right with the leader. I think he's a must use in late exotics. Now
absolutely.
the one point I will make, and I again will give Emily Gullickson a little assist for pointing this out when I talked with her yesterday. He seems like he's a quirky horse and a hard horse to ride. Like he's a horse who you have to kind of straighten out a little bit. Like he can be difficult to manage because you'll notice he's like Pratt has been on him a couple times, but I like that he's been aboard him a few times. So he's probably knows some of the idiosyncrasies of him by now. I don't think he's the easiest horse to handle, but if you have someone like Pratt aboard and now maybe going a little bit longer, he can kind of sit closer and not have to be behind where he's sort of being like taken back and strangled a little bit. I
think he likes to be on the outside.
Yeah.
That trip he got last time was like against all of his principles as a horse.
Yeah,
He just didn't want to deal with kind of running on the outside. If you see all of his other races, you see tip out, angled out, angled out. He wants to get on the outside and make that run. And if he can
absolutely.
do that today, especially from this spot, if he's covered up a little bit, because the Tis Magician, I gather, is going to kind of try to control the pace here, but I'm not
Mhm.
sure if this horse really wants to go on the turf. And if that's the case, it'll be easier for Gold Phoenix to kind of tip out because he's going to be closer. If he gets shuffled back like last time, he's got no shot. But if he can get close enough to where he can, kind of make his own trip and get positioned to where he can kind of get out and make that run, he'll be tough.
There are and 3 horses and exotics in this race that I really want to make sure I'm using in my pick fours. Gold Phoenix was one of them, who you mentioned. One of the others is the 10, Master of Foxhounds. I think he'll be able to just get a softer trip this time than he did last time. What ended up happening is he drew the rail and he had a good start. And so they just got aggressive and went on with him. But he was battling head up. If you look at the fractions, they went 46-1 to the half mile, going a mile and an eighth. It was his first start in a few months, and he just got tired.
Yeah, he
the
needed
race,
it.
The race fell apart. Masterpiece came from way out of it to close and won that race. I think he's going to sit better here. I don't think he's going to be quite as on the lead, quite as forwardly placed. I think he'll be just off the pace a bit, and he's going to be going second start off the short break. This isn't his best trip, but if he gets the trip I'm looking for, he should be sitting in a really nice spot. And then the other one was the one, Dicey Mochara. If you just eliminate his dirt race last time out, he's not that far behind Master of Foxhounds and Gold Phoenix in the Whittingham in a race where Beyond Brilliant won that race and just had a little bit of a pace advantage. He's right behind Acclimate going a mile and a half. So a mile and a half was just a tad too far for him. He felt like he was going to win that day. He moved into it and then he hung a little bit. But I would not be shocked to see him sitting in a nice spot here. Just eliminate the Cougar and look at his form prior to that. And he's not far behind what would be competitive at 15-1. This is a fun race.
Yeah, it's a great race. Yeah, it is. Dicey Mochara, I took a long look at. I really think he might have a good chance here. At 15-1, why not? He's definitely going to be on the pick 4, pick 5s for sure.
And Stable Duel only cost you $500 at a 15-1 morning line to get this one into your Stable Duel lineup. So Gold Phoenix will definitely both be using. I'll be tossing in Dicey Mochara and probably even a look to the outside with the Master of Foxhounds for some pick 4s and some rolling exotics. That is Pacific Classic Saturday over at Del Mar. My friend, it's always a pleasure. We miss our buddy Matt DeSantis when he's not here with us. He was taking care of the pup today. But we thank Steve Gelfeather for hanging out with us. Oh, and our boy Jake showed up. Jake, nice to hear Jake. Jake showed up a little late. Jake, you're gonna have to go back earlier. You want to catch a little singing. Yeah, you'll love that one. Got a little tease for you earlier on in the card, my friend. Especially if you were a fan of Monday night television viewing in the 1990s. Yeah, yeah,
man.
You're gonna love that. You're gonna love the old learning lessons along the way shows. There was all of those in the 90s. So Jake, thanks for checking in with us. Steve, thanks for checking in with us. Any of you out there who are watching, if you're ever hanging out, let us know. Check in with us. Leave us a comment. Share the post with everyone out there. That way we can get more people informed about Stable Duel. If you've never signed up for Stable Duel, right now is the time. Go sign up. So many different contest options. Kentucky Downs, Del Mar with the big games coming up this weekend. They have those fun games early in the week. The Monday Night Lights games at Assiniboia Downs. Lots of different ways you can get action with Stable Duel. My friend Sniper, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend, buddy. Good luck to you in all of your plays. Thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out with us. Matt, hope you have a good weekend, buddy. And as we say goodbye, we say hello to the soothing sounds of Joey Cleveland.
pony, gnarly